Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 1989 national final of the Geoff M King Oratory competition. We extend a special welcome to our National President, Trevor Eddy, and his wife, Heather. Our sponsor, the Managing Director of SMI Australia, Mr. Grant Sexton, and Naomi Eddy and her family, the Victorian winner of the Jaycees Youth Speaks for Australia. My name is Janice Hickinbotham from Knox Jaycees, and I am the National Coordinator for this prestigious JC Personal Development competition. The 6 orators you will hear tonight have each competed and won their individual state finals. They are, in speaking order, Ian Eaton, representing Western Australia; Jenny Fraser, representing Tasmania; Mark Mills, representing Victoria; Lee Van Tinnock, representing South Australia; Mario Calanna, representing Queensland; and Ricky Quizon, representing New South Wales and ACT. We congratulate the finalists on their achievement to this level and wish them well. The 3 adjudicators for this evening, and they are halfway down the hall: Mr. Andrew Young, Vice President of the Wimmera region; Irene Harrington, immediate past National President, Australian Jaycees and Senator of Junior Chamber International; and Mr. Stephen Greenall, Senator of Junior Chamber International and Chairman of Adjudicators this evening. The timekeepers, Marilyn James from Knox Jaycees and Debbie Murray from Sunshine Jaycees. The purpose of the Geoff M King Oratory is to encourage competitive interest in public speaking among the members of all JC chapters, in order to train people in public speaking and individual development. Oratory is a form of public speaking dependent firstly on sincerity and a conviction of truth, composed with some richness of diction and style, and so delivered with dignity and eloquence as to satisfy the mind and inspire the heart to action or belief. While each contestant is speaking, please refrain from any unnecessary movement, taking of photos and smoking, and anyone with an alarm on their wristwatch, could they please turn it off now. Each contestant will speak for 10 minutes, with a warning bell at 8 minutes and 2 bells at 10 minutes. Our 5th speaker for this evening, representing Queensland, Mr. Mario Calanna.
Your time to love is your most valuable Australian possession. It is your passport from the skidding uncertainty of humanism and material wealth. Each one of you has been given an unknown amount, and you must use it constructively in the present so you don't abort the future or have a past to regret. Each one of you has a purpose in Australian life, and in all your activities you must have a balance between work and leisure, a balance between your strive for material possessions and the time you spend with your loved ones. Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, come and share with me tonight the story of a little Australian girl, Michelle O'Reilly. And through her story, let us together discover the importance of your time to love. As the golden glare of the morning sun strengthened the soft shadows on the well-tended lawns of her home, Michelle walked dejectedly with unseeing, tear-filled eyes on her way to school. Suddenly she felt a pain as if knives were piercing her soft skin. The unyielding metal jolted her supple body, and in a haze of semi-consciousness she heard the screeching brakes, the skidding rubber. Buildings appeared to turn. People waved in a breeze of fantasy. She yelled hysterically, "Daddy, Daddy!" as her blood-saturated body slumped to the ground, forcing her into a black, peaceful oblivion. Age showed its etchings on the faces of Michelle's parents. They sat motionless in the waiting room, their pale, sorrowful faces stiff, their eyes showing distress, shock and fear, terrified lest their only child, Michelle, would die. Her father held his wife's clammy, trembling hand. It had been many years since he'd done this, since he'd made the time to sit and be with her. Ironic he'd been forced to share this time through a serious injury to her daughter. As the past 14 years flashed before him, he recalled the joys of leaving the hospital with his wife and baby daughter, the joys of her first steps and the family strolls in the park, the times she'd sat on his knee and the times he'd caressed her soft, pale skin and looked into her large blue eyes, sparkling with life, yearning for care, thriving on attention. Why? Why had this tragedy befallen his family, his daughter? Her excitement had echoed through the house that morning. She'd danced to the breakfast table and reminded him of the evening school concert. This day was important to her. She wouldn't be depressed at seeing her friends with their parents. For the first time in 9 years, her own parents would be present, and she would achieve her ambition to sing the solo selection in front of her father. After all the money he'd spent on her singing and dancing, her own years of self-sacrifice and hard practice, he finally had the time to sit, listen and be with her, his daughter. But instead he glanced coldly from the pages of the financial paper and announced that due to another business commitment, he could not come. You do understand, Shelley, I'm doing this for Mummy, for you, for us. I'll come next time. Yes. Yes, I understand. Perhaps another time. Another time. Came the disillusioned, dejected reply. Michelle's father had watched her grow to school age, but then his need to provide her with all he thought she needed for a full and happy life had forced him to move from the lowly paid executive to the now managing director. But in his eagerness to materially comfort his family, he had missed Michelle's growth to womanhood. He'd paid for her singing, her schooling, her dancing, but was she intelligent? Could she sing and dance? He did not know. He demanded a second chance, a chance to experience those tender, precious, unique moments of life, of Michelle's life he had missed. But his heart filled with remorse and regret as he realised he could never experience, touch or buy the moments of Michelle's life he had not made the time to share. As he walked into Michelle's room, he looked into her large blue eyes, yearning for care, for sympathy, for attention. Her parched, swollen lips moved to force a smile. An affectionate passion engulfed him. His eyes surged with blood and tears filled his stern, tense face. He caressed Michelle's pale, scarred skin, and his lips parted to emit the long, forgotten words. I love you, Shelley. I love you. I'll make the time to love you. But it was too late. Michelle was past hearing. Her eyes were closed forever. In March 1978, his most valuable Australian possession, the time to love his daughter, had passed him by. Each of you must choose the quality of life you lead, and you must accept its consequences. There are two paths from which to choose. You can allow Michelle's tragic story to jolt you into a decision, to challenge your priorities, and ensure you make the time to be with your family and your loved ones. Or you can follow Michelle's father into a miasma of material possessions and wave in a plastic breeze of fantasy into an unpeaceful oblivion of remorse and regret. An oblivion created by all Australians, for we have allowed the powers of invention and comfort to engross us. By striving as individuals for what we want and we need, at the expense of our loved ones, we have been lured away. Basic principles of Australian life, of the Aussie mateship, to love, to share, and to care. Ask yourselves, can you pay the costly price of denying your loved ones a share of your time? Can you cope with the scars of remorse in your memory if you miss those tender, precious, unique moments of life and growth? Can you continue to live with unseeing eyes and allow your hearts and the hearts of your loved ones to become parched with loneliness and swollen from disillusion? There will be no second chance. So remember Michelle's tragic story. Remember her father's remorse and regret. Remember, there is only one way to feel that something in your hearts and in the hearts of your loved ones that is missing. And that's to make the time to talk, make the time to play, make the time to listen and to be together as a unit. You must leave here today, unyielding in your resolve to look into the eyes and the hearts of those close to you, those beside you. Resolve to give them hope and strength, direction, meaning and purpose in their lives through your understanding, your generosity, your time to listen and to love them. For your unknown, limited time to love is your most valuable Australian possession. Tonight, I ask you to soften your hearts. And I issue you these challenges. Turn off your TV sets and listen to the hopes and the dreams, the fears and the failings of your son or daughter, your husband or wife, your chapter member, your boyfriend or girlfriend. Forgo a gala night out and visit an old-aged relative or friend of yours or someone sick in hospital. For one day you will be old and you will be sick. I challenge you to forgo your second job and the chance of another car or a new pool to spend the time in playing sport with your loved ones, in playing games, chess, Monopoly, drafts with your loved ones, or simply to travel, to picnic, to be together with your loved ones as a unit. For before the sun strengthens its shadows on your lives, before you are caressed by remorse and regret, set aside 10 minutes a day or an hour a week for your loved ones. For your unknown, limited time to love is your most valuable Australian possession. I will pray for each one of you that you will not waste your time to love. For your unknown, limited time to love is your most valuable Australian possession.
Also joining us are our three adjudicators, Andrew Young, Irene Harrington and Stephen Greenall. please also welcome Mr Trevor Eddy, our National President, and Mr Grant Sexton, Managing Director of SMI. I would now like to call forward Mr Stephen Greenall, Chairman of the Adjudicators, for his comments. Stephen?
Madam Chairman, Mr National President, Mr Grant Sexton of our sponsors SMI, ladies and gentlemen, Irene's parting words to me were, don't be long. She knows me. I must have an invitation back to her place afterwards. The Chinese have a saying, a picture is worth 10,000 words. I think tonight we've seen a gallery of frescoes that's probably been unequalled, certainly the time I've been in Jaycees. The adjudicators were unanimous in that they were of an incredibly high standard and very, very even. It was not an easy decision, but you'll be pleased to know that we have reached a unanimous decision. As you looked at that frescoes, the gallery of frescoes, one couldn't help but see the messages that each of the speakers was bringing forth. Let me just mention a statement of Winston Churchill. I do not compose quickly. Everything is worked out by hard labour and frequent polishing. I intend to polish till it glistens. Each one of the speakers tonight polished their diamond until it glistened, until it was the best that they could do, so that we could see the shining light. Like the diamond, it has many, many facets. And the value of the diamond is determined by how many facets and the quality of those facets. And so that whilst each of the presentations was effective in its own right, some had just a few more facets than others. Another quote from Winston Churchill. Before the orator can inspire with any emotion, he must be swayed by it himself. When he would rouse their indignation, his heart is filled with anger first. Before he can move their tears, his own must first flow. To convince them, he must himself believe. What we asked the contestants to do tonight was to share their feelings and their beliefs with the audience. We expect them to ask questions of each one of you in a personal way. And finally, we asked that they would challenge you, that when you leave this room tonight, you'll be thinking a whole lot more about one more topic than perhaps the others. With those few notes, and on behalf of the adjudicators, we wish to congratulate each of the contestants. We really enjoyed each of the presentations, and we are unanimous in our verdict.
Thank you, Stephen. Now call forward Mr Trevor Eddy to announce the winner and to present the trophy.
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the 1989 Geof M King Oratory Award from Trinity Jaycees.
it's funny how history kind of seems to repeat itself. 64 years ago, my father arrived in Melbourne from Italy, and he's talked about Gippsland and Ballarat and a few other places in Victoria for many years. And it's unreal that I've sort of come back to the place where he started. I started this year wanting to win a state debate final. I'm a little bit off course. I've been in one debate final previously and 2 Geof M King state finals and never won anything, although I always reckon I was the best. But I was in the state debate team, but thank goodness as it turned out, Gympie beat us. But I just believe that the Lord wanted me to win tonight. He's planned everything so well for me, air flights, everything else. The pilot sort of stopped their strike for a little bit for me. At one stage we were flying out on godly hours, but the flights were fixed up so that everything worked out really well. As I said at the state final, everything worked in threes for me. It was my third Geof M King final. 1989 is divisible by 3. I spoke third in the third in the debate team. It was my third Geof M King final. And of course there was only 1/3 left, and that was Victoria being the 3rd state down. So now, I will never say that New South Wales' most important job is that it keeps Queensland and Victoria separated. To me, I've kind of come home, although I'm going back to my real home. But I'd like to thank you all for your hospitality, thank the contestants, thank the adjudicators, of course, and it's been great being in Ballarat. I still can't believe that I won this, but it certainly goes to show you that faith in God does give meaning and purpose to human life. It does guide your life, and you can do anything if you try. So God bless you all. Thank you.